This is Ron again from Stay Sharp. The mailman just dropped off my new single bevels. I had ordered the 250 grain Buffalo version from Iron Will. I specifically ordered it without bleeders. I don't see the need for bleeders on a single bevel, and I've been working with a single bevel since 2007. So I am going to put this under the microscope and into the certified sharpness tester to look at the edge, and then I will be back. That was a very good looking edge, which is not surprising since Iron Will is known for producing great edges. Let's check it on the sharpness meter now. .201. That is a fantastic edge. Well done to Iron Will. That is, I think, only the... well, there's only one other head that's bested it, and that was the Grizzly Stick Masai at, I believe, 195. Wow. That out-of-the-box sharpness is fantastic. Well done, Bill and Iron Will. But I've said it before and I'll say it again, out-of-the-box sharpness is a snapshot in time. It's great until the first time you practice with the head, and then of course you've dulled it. Before you want to hunt, you've got to sharpen it. That's where I come in. After you've taken an animal with it and passed through and hit the dirt, you're going to need to sharpen it, and again, that's where I come in, in the hopes of being able to return this to a factory edge, because these are an expensive reusable tool and you want to get a lot of life out of them. Just because they're dull doesn't mean they're junk, so you'll want to sharpen them up. And that's what we're going to look at next. Alright, so I've got to try to see if I can best that edge. The exposure is going to be 5/30 seconds. For the math challenge, that's just over 1/8 of an inch. And if you were to lay a dowel on the roller and then on the blade, that's what you're going to get. That will get their 32-degree angle. Now, I produced a video recently where I talked about potential edge roll and wanting to make a little bit stronger edge on single bevels. And I'm going to link that video in the description, because you, since you own these heads and you can do with them whatever you want, if you would like a little steeper angle, you can certainly wrap the roller with some tape. When you wrap the roller with tape, you're bringing the edge up, and I'm not suggesting you regrind the entire edge. When you do that, you would only be putting a little bit stronger edge on about the first 20 thousandths. So wrapping with tape will definitely lift it up and make for a stronger edge, less prone to curling. And like I say, if you're a single bevel shooter, you're going to want to watch that video that I'll link in the description, because you'll get a real appreciation for edge strength. You won't lose rotation from doing that, and I explained that in the other video. All right, so back to this one. Put it in the guide. I've given you the exposure. Color it up with Sharpie marker. Give it a test roll. Give it a couple of strokes on here to see the marker wear. If the marker is universally gone, you've got it in here right. If there's a bunch of marker on this side, well, that just means this side was too high and you were only grinding here. You need to bring this down or this up until you get even marker wear all the way across. Now, because this head was new, I'm going to start at 2500 grit. I'll go from 2500 grit to buffing compound and see if we can do a little bit better edge. But after you've practiced with this head, after you've taken an animal with it, you're going to definitely need to resharpen it. So diamond grits or diamond plates are your best solution. These heads are hard. You can do it with sandpaper, just know you're going to use a lot of sandpaper. And if the edge definitely gets nicked up, you're going to be removing more material. You'll be using even more sandpaper. Like I said, you can do it with sandpaper. Just know that you're going to be using a lot of it. When you sharpen this head, whatever grit you're using, and here I'll be using 2500 grit, I will eventually create a burr on the backside, which is just an excess folded over metal telling me I've reached the flat side. The apex of where the two edges meet, and that's my signal to stop sharpening with that grit. On a single bevel, you have to break off the burr. Even though it's a single bevel, you've got two edges to deal with. So I will lay the stone or sandpaper out on the edge of something flat, lay the blade on it so that it's flat, and you can tip it until you feel you've hit flat, and then give it a stroke just to break off that burr. If you don't break off the burr, the head won't be sharp. So that's the process for breaking off the burr on the back side of a single bevel, and that is key. Sharpen this side, develop the burr, break it off on the other side, and then progress to buffing compound. So I'm going to get going on this, and then I'll come back and talk about buffing compound. So now we've come to the final step after all of the grits, and that is buffing the edge. White or green buffing compound, cereal box cardboard. In this case it's honeycomb, but I've heard good things about Count Chocula as well. Cover up the cardboard with the buffing compound, and in this case you're only going to be using a backward stroke. You'll only roll backward. You do not want to cut the cardboard or scrape off the buffing compound. And you can do this until your arm falls off. All you're doing is polishing to a mirror finish that you're going to see later on what it looks like. And I haven't even done 20 strokes, and you can see what's happening. We're polishing the edge. You will get buildup on the backside at the trailing edge of the edge. Wipe that off. Now, here's a trick. You can tip it up just a little bit and attack just the cutting edge if you'd like. But I typically do the entire edge. Now, I've been preaching cereal box cardboard as a stropping material on all my videos. Why this versus leather? Leather is just a material of the bygone days, right? So they use leather in the barber shops to strop the straight razors. It doesn't matter what the material is. Leather was just all they had. It's only a vehicle for the buffing compound. It's just something to lay the wax on, which has the micro abrasives in it. It doesn't matter if it's leather. It could be denim stretched tight on a board. Just anything to carry the buffing compound. The nice thing about cereal box cardboard is once this gets gummed up and won't buff anymore because there's so much metal impacted in it, I throw it away, eat another box of Fruit Loops or Minute Rice or Ritz crackers, anything that produces this thin cardboard, and I've got a new strop. With leather you have to resurface it, you have to scrape off all the old buffing compound, redress it. It really is a hassle to get it flat and smooth, and these materials are free. So buffing compound is a great finishing material, and cereal box cardboard is a great material to put the buffing compound on. Lastly, now we're going to look at the edge under the microscope and under the sharpness tester to see what effect we have had. Alright, you've seen the factory edge under the microscope. You've seen my newly sharpened edge under the microscope. The side that I was dealing on has, you can see the reflection from me breaking off the burr. This is the factory edge, it doesn't have that. So let's look at the edge that I've produced under the, or in the sharpness tester. .70. That is my best edge to date. I've not produced an edge sharper than that. This head is in fact very scary sharp. Now the edge that it came with, oh, absolutely lethal. Well done, iron will. I mean, that exceeds fine cutlery. That's approaching a razor blade. But you will own this head for a long time, and you will have to resharpen it after practicing and taking an animal, and you have the ability to do so. You don't have to try to send this head back to them or to somebody else to sharpen it. You own sharpness, and you can put a phenomenal edge on it after you've taken an animal. Let's wrap this up. Here is the factory edge from Iron Will. Fantastic, super job. Here you can see the back side of me breaking off the burr. There is the edge that I produced, and you can produce as well. Here again is the Iron Will edge, still a fantastic edge. These heads always spin great. They're a fantastic head that you will own the sharpening on. Now, as always, the final step, this head came in, and Iron Will is a stickler for weight, and they always come in at weight. This head came in at 250, and it finishes at 250. Again, I was taking off really nothing, polishing the edge essentially to get the edge that I got. So I mentioned earlier that with the 32 degree guide you can match the factory grind. Then I mentioned, and I have the link in the description below, how to make a stronger edge, and in this case from 32 to 35. In this case you don't have to take the head apart. You can put the head in the 35 degree guide. Let me do just that. While it's on the ferrule, is the point that I'm making, without having to take it apart. You want this edge parallel to the roller, so I will do that. Tighten the screw. And now you have the ability to hone the edge at 35. Now, I'm not suggesting you regrind the entire edge at 35. I'm saying the first 20 thousandths as I showed in that single bevel video. So if I put a rod on here and then I look at it, you can just see a little bit of daylight on the back side. That's the difference between 32 and 35. And you would only be sharpening about the first 20 thousandths in, and certainly making a far stronger edge, but not sacrificing any of the rotation, because you still get all of that slope from the factory grind. The worry of edge roll is real, especially on pastures when you hit the dirt, and you would not like a big chunk taken out of this head that you would have to resurface and grind to put it back into service. So that's why I produced that other video, to answer some questions about making stronger grinds. Some companies go 20, Some companies go all the way to 40, like Alien, and those will be some of your strongest edges. And again, you don't have to regrind the entire edge, just that first little bit in to get the benefit of all that strength. So this is the Iron Will single bevel. It's a fantastic head, comes really sharp, and you have the ability to return it to that sharpness or exceed that sharpness. Thanks for watching. Once you've sharpened the head, make sure to put some sort of corrosion inhibitor on here. These are great steel, but they are tool steel and they will rust. And I always recommend Hornady One Shot, or on all sides spray the WD-40 Specialist. This head, being tool steel, does have the ability to rust, and it will, and you don't want that to happen. You've worked too hard to sharpen these heads, so stave that off with something like this, WD-40 or Hornady One Shot. You'll thank yourself. Lastly, I want to talk about trailing edges. So it appears that their main blade and this tip is sharpened at 32. The trailing edge, however, is going to be sharpened at about 35. Now, I don't know a lot of people who spend time re-sharpening the trailing edge as it's going through an animal or even into a target. The trailing edge doesn't really dull. And personally, I don't value trailing edge sharpening as far as it causing any more bloodletting. But if you do value that, know that the 32 guide is at 32. In order to reach 35, you can wrap a bunch of tape around the roller when you do the trailing edges. Now, because this is a single bevel, when you have the blade in here, this roller would be the roller that would be doing the single bevel at 32 degrees. You have to take it out and reposition it for the trailing edge. If you value that, you can flip the guide over, put it in here, and now put tape on this roller for doing the trailing edges. That tape boosts the angle and you can exactly match the factory edge. So there's your options. You can also grind the trailing edge to 32 so all the edges are the same, or use a 35 degree guide to grind the trailing edges. Again, it's entirely up to you. First of all, do you value it at all? If you do and you want to match the factory angle, this would be a great option, or wrapping the far side or the opposite side roller by itself with tape to match that, or regrinding it to 32 so they all match. It's entirely up to you, but I wanted to make that point clear with these sharpeners. So that's the Iron Will single bevel, a great head. This will serve a lot of people really well, and I know this is going to be a great seller for Iron Will. So thanks for watching.